I'm a little disappointed there's not more people because, you know, it's not that what I have to say is just, you know, it's going to change the game of water polo, but hopefully it will. But it's the idea that, you know, you're always trying to improve yourself as a coach. You know, you want to get better. And so you get stuff from everywhere, you know, and you get ideas from here. I steal ideas from everybody. I read basketball books, I read football books, I go to clinics. When I was a young coach, I used to go to clinics all the time. I'd drive all the way. I was a graduate student at UCLA, and I was driving down to Irvine to go to Ted Newland's. He had a class one night a week, and did that for a whole semester. Just drove down there through traffic and everything else. But you know, you're always picking stuff up like that. And the stuff that I have to say, you know, this weekend, you know, take what you can out of it, but just keep learning. I mean, I swear I've learned more in the last 10 years after I retired from active coaching, because I started doing research. I started talking to other coaches. I'd steal from other coaches too. If somebody does something against you that looks pretty good, you know, use it. And it's just a matter of improving yourself. John Wooden, the very famous coach from UCLA basketball, you know, he's 80 years old. I'm still learning about basketball at 80 years old. So, you know, it's a learning process. So, what I'm mainly going to talk about, you know, a motion system. There'll be some other things we'll talk about too, but we'll go over both offense and defense. We'll go over counterattack. We'll go over 6-on-5, and I'll even talk about organizing a practice to help set up a system like this, and also, you know, how you coach your kids, how you condition your kids. So all these things, you know, that we'll talk about as far as the system goes. Now, I really think that we need something. We need to change the sport of water polo. We really do. The game has changed so much. The way we're playing the game now, it's just I don't like the game the way it is today. I really don't. I don't think it's very exciting. I think it's fairly boring compared to what we used to do. At least I started playing in 1957. Okay, so quite a few years ago, and you could throw the ball into the hole man. The hole man could shoot it. He could draw a foul. He could pass it to drivers. So you scored. We didn't have kickouts. You scored out of the hole. You scored off the drivers. You scored on the fast break. You know, those are all ways you could score. And there was movement. People were moving around. It was a lot more fun to watch. I watch a water polo game today. The ball comes down the pool. People aren't really necessarily countering that hard. They kind of get down the pool. They sit there and wait for the 2-meter player to get position. That takes 10 or 12 seconds to get down the pool. Another 8 or 10 seconds to get the 2-meter player in position. Then we throw the ball into 2 meters. We lose the ball, turn around, go in the other direction. Girls water polo. This motion game is completely ideal for girls water polo, because the girls shouldn't be playing that kind of game. That's a men's game, and even the men don't play it very. I mean, they play it well. It's just not very much fun to watch. So women's water polo, I wouldn't even try that kind of game. I watched Corona Del Mar and Newport girls play a game this season, and they're two of the better high school girls water polo teams. I mean, it was just swim down the pool, throw the ball into 2 meters, lose the ball, swim down to the other end, throw the ball into 2 meters, lose the ball. It was just up and down the pool, the very same thing. And the final score was like 5-4 or something like that. You know, it to me, it's absolutely boring. And Dean and I were talking about this, but people want to see movement. They want to see action when they watch a game. And if our sport is ever going to be popular, you know, we need some action. We need something to be happening. I mean, it really has gone from a horizontal game to a vertical game. We never used to have 6-on-5. We never played zones. We pressed, we drove, we threw the ball into 2 meters, we did all these things, but we didn't play a vertical game. Now, people are saying 50% of the game is vertical. Heck, it's more than that. You figure all the time you're on 6-on-5, all the time you're shooting against the zone, all the time you're playing in a zone with your hands up, all that vertical water polo. The only part that's horizontal is getting from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool. And so you have to kind of ask yourself, and this is what I've been doing for the last 10 years. What is it? What's the problem with our sport? Why is it it's not very popular? What can we do to make it more popular? What are some of the things that we can do? Well, the first thing we have to look at is the 2-meter game. And I've written articles about this, and the first question I ask, do we really need a 2-meter player? And by the way, you guys can jump in anytime you want. We can talk about this stuff. If you have ideas on your own, it's great. I really welcome we talking about this. But, and when you think about it, why do we really need a 2-meter player? I mean, all we're doing really is throwing the ball into the 2 meters, and the purpose of that is to draw an exclusion. Because most of the teams, at least the teams that I know of, they're not going to let the 2-meter man score. I mean, they would rather foul the 2-meter man, get kicked out, and play 6-on-5. And your chances of scoring on 6-on-5 are pretty low. I mean, really, when you think about it, maybe if you're playing a team that's not very good, or not as good as you are, and you can score 50, 60% on the 6-on-5, you're doing really well. But if you look all around the country at all the teams that play water polo, about a third of the time you can score on 6-on-5. But you know, it's like in baseball, that's great if you can get a hit a third of the time. But not in water polo, that's not. You have an extra man, you know, and you're still only scoring 30%. And pretty much and all it is 5 people passing the ball around, or 6 people passing the ball around. And people don't want to see just somebody sitting there and passing the ball around. They want to see people moving. So if you look at most games, most of the goals are scored on 6-on-5. You don't see very many natural goals. People want to see scoring, but they don't want to see it like that. You know, you just pass the ball around against the zone, and people hold their arms up, and so I really question the value of it. I watched the European Championships this last year, and each team got possession in a quarter about 8 or 9 times. So this is just round number 8 times. So 8 times for one team, 8 times for the other team. They got possession of the ball. Of those 8 times, 4 of those times the shot was taken from outside. Okay. And on 4 of the times, the ball went into 2 meters. On 2 of those, the ball was lost. It was turned over. Somebody crashed in and stole it. Same thing over here. This is on average. These are the best teams in the world who are playing in Europe. And 2 of the times there was a kick out. So you got 2 kickouts pretty much each quarter, and that's 8 for the game. This is on average. You got kickouts in other areas too, but I'm just talking about the 2-meter game right here. So you got 8 kickouts per team, and just to make it an even number, and this doesn't happen, we're going to make this 9 so it's easier to divide. You know, there are teams that get 9 or 10, but on average it's about 8. But we're going to make it 9. And out of that, usually you scored 2 goals. Or 3 goals. So out of all these 8 possessions, let's see, this is for the game, right? So you get 9 for the game, so you get 2 goals out of that. So out of 8 times 4, 32. Right? Out of 32 times, you're getting 2 goals out. So what you get back from all the times that the 2-meter man gets set is you're getting 2 goals out of it. And to me, that's not very good economy. You know, it's just not very efficient at all. So you really, and out of all those Very rarely do you see the 2-meter man ever score. You really don't. And coaches are smart by fouling 2 meters, because if you keep throwing the ball on 2 meters and you let that 2-meter man shoot, they're going to score 50, 60, 70% of the time. They're right in front of the goal. I mean, they're going to be putting the ball in all over. They don't score a lot now because there's not a lot of us to score because people foul them. But it's smart to not let the 2-meter man shoot. So you've got to do something else. The rule that really changed the game to me was when they started. They used to call natural fouls at 2 meters. So we used to describe the 2-meter player as a shooter or as a passing bridge. We called it a passing bridge. The 2-meter man would get a normal foul, pick up the ball, people would drive, and the 2-meter man would feed drivers. Inside water, RBs, you don't even hear that term anymore. RB, bareback. You'd go up in the air like this, you'd catch the ball from 2 meters and you'd shoot it. And we used to practice driving every day. And those are the 2 ways you scored. So then they came up with this rule, this advantage rule, 7.3, that said if the ball goes into 2 meters, you can't call a normal foul because you're taking away his chance to score. And so it's exclusion. So they started calling exclusion. So the 2-meter player never had normal fouls anymore, and they could never pass. So that helped stop the driving game. And then these big guys would hold small drivers, and drivers couldn't drive, and that helped stop the driving game. So we don't even have a driving game anymore. My first year coaching at Stanford, we practiced driving every day. Every single day we did driving. And half of my team at Stanford, you guys might know Marty Davis, who lives out in this area. He's from Redlands. Marty was one of my players. He's 5'9". You know, half of my team was under 6 feet tall. You look at the Stanford roster today, there's one player under 6 feet. They're all over. All the top MPSF teams, they're all 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". So it's a big man's game. And the reason for that is length. You got to have long arms to be able to block shots because it's a zone game. So there's got to be room for smaller players. And especially women. It's crazy for women to be playing or girls to be playing that kind of a game. They should be playing a movement game. It would be so much more exciting to watch and to play. So the game I'm talking about, a motion game, everybody can play it. You don't have to be huge to play this kind of a game. And if you're playing against, you go down to Orange County and you're playing against Modern Day, you know, you're playing against them, and you play that kind of a game that which they're playing, you're going to get your rear ends kicked in, you know, because so you got to do something different. You got to give your team a chance to play. You got to play a system that is conducive to the players that you have. You know, if you don't have a great big huge bunch of people on your team, then you got to play. You got to do something different, and this is what the motion system will do. So it gives everybody a chance. And then we're going to add some things we're going to do on defense, which will even give us a better chance to beat some of these teams. I have gotten emails from people that I know around the world, like a coach from New Zealand, a coach from the Caribbean. They are starting to use a motion system, and they are beating teams that they have never beaten before. A friend of mine in New Zealand is from Wellington. All the water polo in New Zealand's up in Auckland, and all the best teams. And they were always maybe 12, 13, 14 in the country. Now they're in the top 4. They're beating teams they never beat before, and they're using a motion system. So the first thing you got to do is you got to be willing to let go of the 2-meter concept. You got to be willing to let go of 2 meters. You can still use a 2-meter player, but that person would be subject to the same rules that everybody is. Everybody's equal in this system, in a motion system. Every player contributes. Every player can drive. Every player can post up. Every player can shoot from outside. Every player can counterattack. And what we do is we set little rules saying you can do this or you can't. You can do this, but you give your players the option to create and to make things happen. And so what we're looking at, some of the things we're looking at. So we're looking at motion. Okay. So we want movement. So this is one of the first concepts we look at. The second concept that we look at is space. Not spacing, but space. Right now, we crowd up the front of the goal so much that it's impossible to drive, impossible to shoot. It really is. That's the reason we have such low-scoring games. The reason, an example, I'll show you an example here. Okay, we'll go, here's your goal. Okay, and here's another one. Okay, this is the front court offense here, and this is the extra man. Okay, we put a 2-meter player here. We put a guard behind him. We put a goalie. Okay, we put a defender here, a defender, well, we put a defender here, a defender here, a defender here. This is the zone. Okay, now here's my shooter out here. One of those 3 people are going to shoot the ball. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're trying to shoot through 6 people to score. I mean, there's very few places you can shoot the ball here. You might be able to go low under the arms here. You might be able to sneak something in over here. But for the most part, we're crowded up like this. Extra man is even worse. We play a 4-2. We put one of our own players right here on this post. We put another one of our own players right over here on this post. Okay? There's the goalie. There's the middle defender. It could be on this side or that side. I'll just, for the sake of it, I'll put the middle defender here. There's the 2 defenders out here. Then sometimes the corner people will come in. The corner defender will sit right here with their arm up trying to block this part of the goal. Another defender will be over here in this part of the goal. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people we put in front of the goal. And here I'm shooting the ball from out here. And where am I going to shoot the ball? Okay. So what I'm talking about, I mean, I've got a picture. I have it on my computer. I might get it out later to show it to you guys. It's a picture like this on 6-on-5. And in the picture, one of our players, I think we're even missing one of these people, but it's taken from behind the shooter, and it just shows the goal like this, and it's just a mass of humanity in front of that goal, you know. And there's really nowhere to shoot. This is the reason why we're only shooting 30% on 6-on-5. And so, one of the concepts of this motion system, besides motion, the other most important is space. We create space by getting rid of some of these people. I will show you the 6-on-5, how we do that. And I'll start with how we do that on the front court. We will get rid of the 2-meter player. So the first thing we do is we will not let people sit in front of the goal for long. It's like basketball. You know, you got a lane. You can't stay in that lane for more than 3 seconds. Well, that's kind of the same concept. Is you don't let, if somebody goes in there, it could be anyone. It doesn't have to be your 2-meter player. It could be a driver. It could be at the end of the counterattack. Somebody ends up in front of the goal. If they don't get the ball clearly and cleanly within 2 or 3 seconds, they have to clear out. So immediately you're clearing 2 people out of the way. Okay? Now pretty much you've got the goalie. Okay? You're sitting out here outside. Okay? If you want to shoot the ball, you pretty much, let's say you want to shoot the ball from here, you pretty much only have to beat the goalie and one person. Okay? Before we had 6 people in front of the goal. So this is a lot easier. And the goalie's going to probably be over on this side of the goal, like this. So you pretty much have this side of the goal to shoot to. If your ball's here, the goalie's going to move over there. You pretty much have this whole side of the goal to shoot to. It just creates so much more space. I will show you the extra man later on, but we're going to do the same thing on extra man. And the first thing we're going to do is get rid of our 2 players on the post. They get in the way too. Okay? But that'll be later on. So I will go into a little bit more detail on this in just a few minutes. But this is the basic concept of motion, of space. And spacing is, this is spacing between 2 people here. You don't want 2 people too close together. Okay, that's spacing. A very important concept in basketball. In water polo is fairly important too. What you see people do is they, there are coaches that say, well, we drive. And, they really don't drive. I mean, they do, but they're what I call token drives. They drive to drive through. They don't drive with a purpose. They don't drive with the idea they're going to shoot the ball. And this is what SC does, and a lot of the colleges have copied this system. The women's NCAAs I just saw just recently, they do a lot of this too. And what they will do is they will still have a 2-meter player. Okay, so they'll still have a 2-meter player, and they will drive with a 2-meter player in there. And you got a defender here. And what they will do, you watch them after at a half-court play. A goal's just scored. They started half-court, and everybody, like 5 people, drive in there, and they're going all over the place. They're trying to confuse the defense. The defense just sits there and waits, lets them make all their little moves, and then they just pick them up. Very rarely do they get goals out of this. But this is kind of the driving game that we see today in some of the teams that are playing the game. And I call it a scrum. And SC did this years ago. At the end of the game, you're losing by a goal. There's 2 seconds left, and you get a corner throw over here. They just drove everybody in, and tried to threw the ball up high and tried to create some confusion. But this is the game I see today. The other thing I see today is people say, well, we run a pick. We run a pick, and we've got a player down here in the wing. We've got a player right here, and we'll swim this player here, and we'll run a 21 pick. This is position 1, position 2. We'll run 2. Will go over and screen, but they don't screen. All they do is interchange. This person swims down here, and this person swims out here. So you end up with the same thing. They're not really screening. Okay, screening you have to screen somebody. You have to touch somebody. You have to block the defender. And all they do, they call this a pick. It's not a pick. It's just an interchange. And they do the same thing over on this side of the pool. So you just change places. And here you change places here. So the only thing it might do is if your best shooter's over here in the wing, it'll bring the best shooter out on the top. That's about all it does. So people really aren't doing this. So they really aren't driving. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the women play in the NCAAs, but another thing you saw was a wheel. Irvine ran this. So they ran a wheel. They had a person here in the center, a person over here, another one here, and I think it was something like this. This person would swim in here, this person would swim over here, this person would swim out here, this person would swim over here. So it was kind of a wheel, and they had the ball over here. They were playing against Cal. Cal just dropped this defender in like that, and just let the ball over here, give him the shot, And they just kept running this circle. They only did it a couple times, 2 or 3 times. It just didn't work. Because all the defenders do is just swim with them, and then when they get in there, if they do get in there with good ball side position, this player that dropped back would take that pass away. So that really didn't work. That's motion, but it really doesn't accomplish anything. So there's a couple other concepts that I want to add to my motion system. Okay, about, you know, talking about playing a game that's suited to the players that you have. I always use the example of Spain. Spain used to have they won the silver medal in the 92 Olympics, they won the gold medal in the 96 Olympics. They did it with movement. Beautiful. I love it. Manuel Estiardi, one of the greatest players in the world, quick, fast, could drive, could move. They had a great counterattack. They just swam all over the place. They beat all the big teams in those days. They beat the Russians. The Russians were good back then. In fact, it was called Soviet Union back then. And they beat all the big countries. And they don't have a bunch of huge players. So what are they doing today? They're playing the big man's game. They're playing the Croatian, Serbian, Montenegro, Hungary game. They're playing that game. And now they're maybe 6th, 7th in the world, something like that. I mean, they're still able, because they're still quick and fast, they can still do some pretty good things. But they're trying to play the 2-meter game, just like everybody else is. And you're not going to beat. Do you realize Croatia, when they won the gold medal in the last Olympics, their team averaged 6'6", average height, 6'7", 6'8", 6'4", 6'3", but they averaged 6'6" and 230, something like that. I don't know, pretty big guys. And here's Spain. There's nobody that Spain can beat a team like that. And that's the game that I think was kind of started by Ratko Rudic, who has won gold medals. I mean, they won gold medals playing that kind of a game. But you have to have those kind of bodies to be able to play that kind of game. And the problem is, teams like Spain and Greece and Italy, teams like that have smaller players, they still try to play that same type of game because they say, oh, well, Croatia won the gold medal playing that system, so we're going to play the same system. It's absolutely crazy. So
Japan's trying to do it.
Japan, exactly.
Base.
And it's very good.
Yeah.
I like the way. Yeah, I love to watch Japan play. I was telling Dean this, that if Japan, they just played in that tournament, men's tournament, right? Yeah. And if Japan had eliminated all their turnovers, they force the ball and they lose the ball too much, their game is really a good game. But they drive, they counter, beautiful counter. They have a great counter. They press, but they still play a 2-meter guy, and they force the ball into him too much, and they'll force the ball to people who are, or they'll take bad angle shots, and they'll turn the ball over. If Japan had a little more discipline as far as their shooting and passing goes, they got a great movement game. They could beat some of the better teams.
They were giving teams fits just
yeah.
because teams didn't know how to defend it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. I watched a couple of those games. Yeah, and their junior teams the same way. I watched their junior team play the World Junior Championships in Turkey.
Well, their junior teams had more success too. I mean,
yeah, using that.
They've done very well.
Yeah, and you can get away with that more. And their junior team in Turkey this last year, they beat a lot of kids.
They scored a bunch of goals too.
Yeah, they beat Montenegro. They beat I forget how many countries they beat, but they really did very well. So I think you get away with it a little bit more at the junior level, but that is an example of playing a game that suits your players and playing a game that everybody can play. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of the other concepts that I want to talk about. So what I did is I'm looking at the game of water polo, and I'm looking at why are we doing these things? Why are we not scoring more goals? Why are we only scoring 30% on the 6-on-5? And then all of a sudden it took me 50 years to figure this out. We got too many people in front of the goal. Okay, so I'll go over that detail again. I want another thing I want more aggressive play. We do not teach aggressive play that much in this country. We teach slow down, set it up, pass the ball, move the ball. We slow things down, use the clock. You've heard that expression. We've all used it. Use the clock. We take a shot, the ball rebounds off the goal, we have a new shot clock, and what's the first thing we say? Use the clock, use it all, use it all. Why not? Why not shoot right away if you have an opening? Because there's confusion right there. The ball hits the bar, everybody's turning around to go in the other direction, it bounces back out, your team gets it back. Instead of shooting the ball right away when the defense is a little bit disorganized right there, coach yells out, set it up, slow it down, use all the clock. So we don't teach aggressive play. I want to strike early, I want to strike fast. Okay? At the end of the counterattack, I want to try and take a shot at the end of the counterattack. And so I would have a rule for my team, and I'll go over this when we talk about the counterattack. But I would set up a drill in practice. We start at one end of the pool, we counter at the other end. Okay, I want you to create a shot in 15 seconds. You have 15 seconds to get a shot off the goal. And it's got to be a decent shot. I mean, you can't force the ball like Japan does, take a bad angle shot or something. But you teach your players how to create that shot. They can run screens. They can do a lot of different things to create a shot. We will also clear out the area in front of the goal right away and run a drive in there at the end of the counterattack. We don't want to try and get a shot quickly at the end of the counterattack. We don't want to shoot. We want a quick strike at the on 6-on-5. Okay, there's a kick out, and the person starts leaving. All the defenders start turning around to cover on the kick out. They only want 5 of them left, and so they turn around to cover up. And what do? I'm guilty of this as anybody. We call it timeout. You know, and so now we give the defense a chance to set up, okay, and we run some kind of a play. But I'm saying we work on 6-on-5 every day in practice. Why am I calling a timeout? To give the defense a chance to set up. They can put their best defenders in there, you know, and they get ready for us. They can even run some kind of a defensive thing. They're knocking you down. They're going to split you or do something like that. So now the time to strike is right away on the extra man. Make one pass and shoot. You know, because the defense is not ready. I can't believe that that when you make one pass, that all 5 of those defenders are going to have their arms up. There's no way. There's going to be several of those people that are still going back in position. Somebody's going back to cover up the 2-meter player. But there's going to be openings there. And you teach your kids, shoot quickly and shoot right away. Your best chance of scoring is really early on the 6-on-5. And the other thing we do is we send our players to their best positions on 6-on-5. If we don't call it timeout. So I've got a player over here, and he plays the one position on the 6-on-5. So there's a kick out. He has to swim all the way over here. So right away, we've just taken about 5, 6, 7 seconds just to set up a 4. And a 4-2, by the way, is much harder to set up. And the concept I'm going to show you later on is to run a 3-3, which is better. But the other concept is let players play every position. You know, you want a left-hander on this side of the pool, but basically everybody should be able to play every position. You shouldn't have to take that much time. And then what do? We pass the ball, and we pass the ball, and we fake, and we pass, we fake. Now there's 5 seconds left on the 20-second kick out, and we're in a position where we have to shoot the ball. The defense now starts knocking you down, and so you force up a shot, and this is another reason why we don't score a lot on 6-on-5. So the idea that I want a shot right away is something that we're another example of being aggressive. We're at 5 meters. We get fouled. I mean, I saw this in college. I saw this in the women's game this last week in the NCAA Championships. Somebody's at 5 meters, gets fouled, picks up the ball, does not even look at the goal, throws the ball to somebody on this side, gets the ball back to get it live, and then they start looking to take the shot. Why not take that shot? The FINA has given you free shots on the goal. Every time you get at 5 meters, you get a free shot on the goal. Now, just think if, when you get that free shot out here at 5 meters, if there's nobody in front of the goal, but just one person in front of you and the goalie, and your 2-meter player you don't have a 2-meter player there, Okay, if you're fouled out here, God, you've got to take that shot. That's almost like a 5-meter shot. It's like a 5-meter penalty shot, except there's no defender in front of you. But all you have to do is beat that one defender and the goalkeeper. I'd be taking that all the time. Okay? Be aggressive, go for it. And you have to encourage your players to do this. You can't get mad at them for taking that shot. Okay, you have to encourage them to shoot. The concept here is we want to shoot more than the other team does. I'll talk about this in a second with the first wave. But the other thing, end of the shot clock. End of the 30-second shot clock. We've got the ball out here, maybe we've got the ball out here at 8 meters. And, okay, we're red, we've got 10 seconds left, 9, 8, we get down to 2, 3 seconds. What do? Dump the ball over here in the corner. Why not shoot it? Why not shoot it? What can possibly... The only thing you have to worry about is if the other team counters in the other direction, then you're not ready for it. But you know, if you, as a coach, you set a philosophy, I want you to shoot the ball at the end of the shot clock, no matter where you are, then all your other teammates can be ready for that shot and they can cover back on the counterattack on the other team. So shoot the ball. The goalie probably could block it, shoot it high, maybe the goalie block it out of bounds, you get a new shot clock, maybe it'll hit a bar and bounce back out in the field of play. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. And you're not going to get a goal every time. Maybe only get one goal a game, maybe no goals at all. But at least you're being aggressive, you're creating something, you're making something happen instead of dumping the ball in the corner. So this is kind of where I got the concept of the first wave. It's because the first wave is a surfing term. And in surfing contests, you have heats. And each heat, I don't know how many surfers, 8 or 10 surfers in each heat. And they only last maybe 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, the heat, something like that. And so all these surfers go out there and they're in the heat. The person with the highest score gets to advance into the finals, maybe the top 2 or something like that. So you have 2 kinds of surfers. You paddle out there, as soon as you get there, the heat starts, and you have one kind of surfer that takes every wave. You take the first wave, you go back out, you take the second wave, you go back out, you take as many waves as you can. And you have the other person that sits there and waits and waits and waits for the big wave, for the one good wave that they're going to get. You know, they hope they're going to get anyway. In the meantime, the aggressive surfer is piling up points. Maybe the wave's not that great, but he's taking waves. And you know that one that's waiting for the big wave, that big wave may never come. So where I got this name is I want, in water polo, the same thing. I want somebody that's willing to take the first wave, not to wait and wait and wait like we do. We pass the ball around and wait for their shot. So the concept here is that the one that takes the most waves is going to have a better chance to win than the person who waits. And the same thing in water polo. We try to create more, if we can create more shots than the other team, it's an aggressive approach. It's going to give us a better chance to win a game. You know, if it's a lopsided game with you're better than the other team, and the other team's much better than you or something, this is not, it really doesn't apply. But if you're an evenly matched game and with your opponent, and you take more shots than the other team, you take more waves than the other team, you're got a better chance of winning the game. So this is an aggressive approach, and this is where I got the idea of the first wave. So it's just, and you know, it gives it a title for this system, and so, but I had to get something out of it. I could have used baseball as an example. You know how the batters in baseball, they wait. They never swing at the first pitch. And you know, the pitcher, what's he trying to do? He's trying to throw a strike on the first pitch, because the coaches tell him, you got to get ahead of the batter. You got to get ahead of the count. And so that first pitch may be the best pitch you see during the whole time. So they wait for the first pitch, that's a strike. Then they wait for the second pitch, that's a strike. Now you're 0-2, and you're at the mercy of the pitcher. Instead of, man, swing at the first pitch. And there are coaches that tell the guy, you have to get the count up, you have to work the count and all that. Well, it's the same philosophy. Swing at the first pitch. And so what we try to do in this motion offense is we strike quick, We try to create shots. We try to create more shots than the other team, and we try to take more shots than the other team. And I will show you how we're going to create shots in a moment. Okay. And the last reason that we're doing this system is we want a more exciting game. Okay? We want to create motion. We want movement. And that's the whole thing. You know, people want to see movement. You look at all the sports that are popular in the world, there's movement. Even soccer. I mean, the soccer game is 2-1. And this is the most popular sport in the world. Why? Because they're moving. They're moving all the time with the ball. You've got Ronaldo, guy, one of the best players in the world, and they all have first names. All these guys from Brazil, they've all got one name, Ronaldo. And he's got this ball, and he's moving, he's going around a guy, he's running down the field, there, you know. But there's movement, even though there's not a lot of scoring. There's movement. So the goal here is to create a more exciting game that people will like to watch. Hopefully, our sport will get more popular. We're in a little bit of trouble around the world. I mean, there's an outside chance we could possibly lose water polo in the Olympic Games. You know, we're the oldest sport in the Olympics, oldest team sport, and it's a possibility we could lose. The only reason we haven't lost it so far is because we are the oldest sport, and because we are connected with FINA, which is swimming, water polo, synchronized swimming, and diving. And FINA is very powerful. But, you know, a lot of those FINA people are swimming people. They're not water polo people. And there's going to come a day where they're not going to support us that much. Right now, they are supporting us. So we've got to make this sport more popular. And that's just part of this, what we're trying to do. Okay, so aggressive play, more movement, space. Everyone can play. Okay? All positions. In the front court, everybody can play every position. You don't have a hole man, you don't have a left. I mean, I ask players, where do you play? Oh, I play the 4-5 side. You know, why? You know, why can't you play the 1-2 side? You know, if you go down the pole and you say, you're swimming down the 1-2 side, and coach says, you got to play the 4-5 side. Oh, okay, so I got to swim over there and go to the 4-5 side and set up over there. You know, in this system, everybody can play every position. And there's no 2-meter player. Everybody can play 2 meter. Everybody can post up. Everybody can drive. Everybody can pass the ball. Everybody can set screens. So it's kind of an equal opportunity system. To me, your players are going to enjoy this better. You know, I mean, if I'm a player and I'm sitting there on the perimeter waiting for my 2-meter player to get set, and I'm just kind of passing the ball around, you know, and what am I doing? I'm just kind of passing the ball, waiting for the 2-meter player to get set. Finally, the coach says, "You got to throw the ball into 2 meters. That's our offense." Okay, here goes. Throw it in. Somebody crashes in. You lose the ball. So there's your game.
So
right
the next
there.
possession, take an outside shot. Now the coach is not.
Yeah, or take an outside shot.
Because
exactly.
you shouldn't be shooting. Why did you wait to develop the 2-meter?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so take.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. And then so now you get to the end of the shot clock, and you either have to throw it into 2 meters or take the outside shot, and everybody knows it's either going to go in there or the shot's going to come. And then again, as I showed you here, there's 6 people in front of the goal. You got to get it through, you know. And it's the end of the shot clock. You have to shoot. So what do? Oh, I don't have a good shot. Coach says don't shoot it unless you have a good shot. I put it in the corner and dump it. Okay, so we're trying to eliminate this kind of stuff. Okay. Counterattack is a big part of the motion system. It starts with the counter, and counterattack is aggressive play. Is aggressive, and we'll get into this in detail later on. But you want to get to the point where your players will counter at every opportunity. That's your goal. Is that all 6 players will counterattack at every opportunity. And talk about putting pressure on the defense. This is philosophy that I had at Stanford for years. Like I say, when I arrived there, I had a lot of 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" guys. And we had pretty good speed, but you don't need speed. You just have to be a fairly good swimmer. You don't have to be a great speedster to play the counterattack. But we emphasize that. And this is the same philosophy that Chip Kelly at Oregon has, the Oregon football program. They run a real fast-moving system, and they don't huddle. They wear teams out. He gets them in great shape. In the fourth quarter of a football game, Oregon's going to win because they just wear out the other team. It's the same concept that I had when I was at Stanford. We would wear teams out with the counterattack, and we had an attitude and a philosophy that I imparted onto the players, saying, we are in better shape than the other team. We can do this for 4 quarters. The other team's going to die at halftime or at the end of the third quarter, and we can win a game in the fourth quarter because of the counterattack. And the counterattack creates goals. It creates easy goals. And I will show you again ways that we're going to create easy goals on the counterattack. So counterattack has to be part of this system. We want to play a pressure defense. Okay? This is also part of the system. Because the pressure defense leads to easy counterattacks. One reason that we don't have as many counters as we used to is everybody's back into a zone. And when you counterattack from a zone, it's really hard to get somebody free. It's much easier to counter from a press. And if you talk in any sport, if you talk to coaches and say, what's the most difficult thing that a defense does that your teams have a problem with? And they would say, when they're pressing us. And you try your kids, when they're being pressed and the referee doesn't call the automatic foul, man, they struggle to try to get the ball down the court. So the press really puts pressure on the other team. It keeps the ball from just easily coming down the pool. I swear Stanford should have won NCAA this year on the men's side. They had the best players. They had the best team this year, and they didn't win, and they didn't press. And I'll take this to my grave. I'll say, if they had pressed, they would have won NCAAs. When the ball turned over, they would just swim down the pool, no pressure on the ball, no pressure anywhere, and sit back, go back in front of the goal, and put their hands up. And they're playing USC. SC's got these foreign players. They got the Greek guy, Custodonius, or whatever his name is. He could shoot the heck out of the ball. He could shoot. His specialty is scoring goals against zones. So what you do, you swim down, and they play a zone. Stanford played a zone, and they just played into his hands. He won it. He scored the goal in the fourth quarter to tie the game. He scored the goal in overtime to win the game, and because they were going against the zone, and it just really played into SC's hands. And Jovan used to run all these little plays, and that playing the zone. So press delays the ball coming down the pool. We also front 2 meters. We keep the ball out of 2 meters, and it's a very effective way. Pressure, water polo, really puts a lot of pressure on the other team. Why make it easy for them just to bring? We have a shot clock. We have a 30-second shot clock, and yet we just instead of pressing the team and forcing them to use the clock to get the ball down the pool, we just let them get the ball in one pass. They've got the ball down the pool. The players are down there in 9 or 10 seconds, and you give them 20 seconds to run their offense. I want to delay that ball getting in the pool. I want them to only have less than 10 seconds when they finally get the ball down in front of the goal, and puts pressure on them. So again, press is part of that. Passing lanes too. Passing lanes also are, again, I'll go over in detail on the defense, but passing lanes is something that, again, we used to do a lot of. I did it my last year at Stanford. I played a press and passing lane defense in my last year at Stanford, and I was there 25 years. And in that last year when we played that kind of a defense, and we fronted 2 meters, the teams we played UCLA and SC and Cal and all those schools in about 25 games in that last year. We held them to 4 goals average for the whole season. Every team we played, 4 goals. Now, our school record before that was 6 goals average that we held the other teams to. So we went, and that was a new school record just by playing that kind of a defense. So if you can keep the score down and keep it low like that, you have a good chance to win every game. But the press is really an important part of it. And the other thing I like about the press, it just puts you in a great position to counter. And you're not going to get these 6-on-5, 5-on-4 counters. You're going to get these 1-on-nobody, 2-on-1, 3-on-2 counters when you're in the press. So this is another part of the game that we're going to teach. Okay?